I've had these veins bulging out of my legs for 11 years, and not one doctor ever mentioned what I'm about to tell you. They told me to wear compression stockings. They told me to elevate my legs. One even said, well, that's just what happens when you get older. And I believed that. For over a decade, I believed that. Then, about 3 months ago, a friend of mine, she's 72 by the way, she told me she'd been soaking her feet in something. A combination of two things I already had in my house, black seed oil and Epsom salt. She said within about 10 days, the heaviness in her legs was completely different. The swelling around her ankles had gone down, and a couple of those smaller veins near her feet had actually started to fade. Now, I was skeptical. I'll be honest with you. I thought, there's no way a foot soak does what years of stockings couldn't. But here's the part I didn't expect. When I actually looked into why this combination might work, the science behind it was far more serious than I imagined. We're talking about real clinical studies, real mechanisms happening inside your blood vessels. And I want to walk you through all of it today, because what I found changes the way I think about these veins entirely. Let me ask you something. Do you actually know why varicose veins happen in the first place? Most people think it's just weak veins. That's only part of the story. And honestly, it might not even be the most important part. Inside every vein in your legs, there are tiny one-way valves. Think of them like little doors that only open upward, pushing blood back toward your heart against gravity. When you're younger, those valves are strong. They snap shut. Blood moves up, no problem. But after 60, something shifts. Those valves start to weaken. They don't close all the way anymore. And when that happens, blood doesn't just flow up. It falls back down and pools. That pooling stretches the vein walls. They bulge. They twist. They push up against the skin. That's the varicose vein you see. But here's what almost nobody talks about. It's not just the valves. There's an inflammation cycle happening inside the walls of those veins that makes everything worse. The pooling blood triggers inflammatory signals. Those signals weaken the vein walls even further, which causes more pooling, which causes more inflammation. It's a loop. And once that loop starts, compression stockings can slow it down, but they can't interrupt it. And that right there is the moment most people give up. They think nothing else can be done. They accept the heaviness, the aching, the swelling at the end of the day. Turns out, the swelling isn't even the real problem. The real problem is that inflammatory loop running silently inside the vein walls. And that is exactly where black seed oil enters the picture in a way that genuinely surprised me. Black seed oil, Nigella sativa, it's been called, has been used for centuries. You probably already know that. But what most people don't realize is that inside this oil, there's a specific compound called thymoquinone, and thymoquinone does something remarkable to blood vessels. There's a compound in this oil that essentially coaxes your blood vessels into relaxing and opening wider. Here's how. Your blood vessels have an inner lining called the endothelium. When that lining is healthy, it produces something called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is what tells the muscles around your blood vessels to relax. More nitric oxide means better blood flow, less pressure, and less of that painful pooling. Now here's where it gets interesting. Researchers were actually studying heart disease patients when they stumbled onto this. A clinical trial published in Phytotherapy Research gave people just 500 milligrams of black seed oil a day for 2 months. What they found was that the blood vessels of the people taking the oil became significantly better at dilating, relaxing, and expanding to let blood through. Their nitric oxide levels went up measurably compared to the group that got nothing. And that same compound, thymoquinone, also suppresses those inflammatory signals I mentioned earlier, the ones that keep weakening your vein walls from the inside. It works on 2 specific pathways your body uses to drive inflammation. It quiets them both down. Multiple studies published in peer-reviewed journals have confirmed this. So think about what that means. You've got a compound that helps blood vessels open wider and reduces the inflammation that's damaging the vein walls. That's two sides of the same problem being addressed at once. So if this oil can do that when you take it internally, what happens when you apply it directly to the skin above those swollen veins? Well, there's actually a clinical trial on that too. Researchers tested topical black seed oil on patients whose veins were inflamed from chemotherapy. The group that had the oil applied to their skin saw significantly less vein inflammation. The severity dropped, and the veins stayed healthier for longer compared to the group that received no treatment. Now, I want to be clear. That study was on a different kind of vein inflammation, not varicose veins specifically. But the mechanism is the same: inflammation in the vein wall, thymoquinone addressing it topically. The principle holds. Now, Epsom salt. Most people think it's just for sore muscles after a long day. That's about 10% of the story. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. When it dissolves in warm water, it breaks apart into magnesium and sulfate. Magnesium is one of the most important minerals in your entire body for muscle relaxation and blood pressure regulation. And here's something a lot of people over 60 don't realize. A significant number of older adults are magnesium deficient without even knowing it. When your body is low on magnesium, your muscles cramp more easily, including the tiny muscles surrounding your veins. That cramping adds pressure to veins that are already struggling. It's like squeezing a garden hose that's already kinked. But there's one thing about magnesium that changes everything for varicose veins specifically. Magnesium sulfate in warm water creates what's called an osmotic effect. That's a fancy way of saying it helps draw excess fluid out of swollen tissues. The warm water opens up blood flow to the area. The magnesium helps relax the muscles around those veins, and the osmotic action helps pull some of that trapped fluid away from the ankles and lower legs. Now, I need to be straight with you on something. The science on whether magnesium actually absorbs through your skin in meaningful amounts is not settled. Some studies say yes. Some say the skin is too much of a barrier. But here's what is well documented. The warm soak itself improves local circulation. The magnesium does help relax muscles on contact, and the fluid drawing effect is real and measurable. So when you combine black seed oil's anti-inflammatory, vessel-relaxing properties with Epsom salt's muscle-relaxing, fluid-draining effects in warm water, you're essentially addressing the problem from multiple angles at the same time. That's why the combination seems to work differently than either one alone. All right, here's exactly how to do this. And the order matters more than you'd think. You'll need a basin large enough for both feet. Fill it with warm water, not hot. This is important. Hot water can actually make varicose veins worse because it causes your veins to dilate too much. You want warm, comfortable, about the temperature of a relaxing bath. Add half a cup of Epsom salt. Stir it until it dissolves completely. Then add 1 tablespoon of cold-pressed black seed oil directly into the water. Swirl it around. The oil won't fully mix with the water, and that's actually fine. It means some of it will coat your skin directly, which is what you want. Soak your feet and lower legs for 15 to 20 minutes. While you're soaking, gently massage the areas around your varicose veins. Always rub upward, from ankle toward knee. You're encouraging blood to move in the direction it should naturally flow. Do this every evening. Consistency matters here. This isn't a one-time thing. By day 3 or 4, you might notice something strange. Your legs might feel lighter when you get out of bed in the morning. Not dramatically different, just lighter. That's the first sign the fluid accumulation is decreasing. Some people also notice less aching by the end of the day. By the end of the first week, the skin around the veins may start to look less discolored. That dark purplish tone that often surrounds varicose veins can begin to lighten slightly. This doesn't mean the vein itself has disappeared. What it likely means is that the inflammation in the surrounding tissue is going down and blood is pooling less. After 10 days to 2 weeks of consistent nightly soaks, the changes become more noticeable for most people. Less heaviness, less throbbing. Ankles that don't look puffy by evening. Some of the smaller spider veins near the feet may start to become less visible. Now I want to be honest with you. Large, deeply bulging varicose veins aren't going to vanish from a foot soak. That's not how veins work. The structural valve damage needs medical intervention if it's severe. What this soak does is manage the symptoms, reduce the inflammation feeding the problem, and create genuine relief that you can feel. And for a lot of us, that relief changes daily life more than you'd expect. Now, want to know the one mistake that can undo all of this? Water temperature. I mentioned this briefly, but it deserves repeating because so many people get it wrong. If the water is too hot, you're actually forcing your veins to expand further. That's the opposite of what you want. Warm, not hot. If you can't comfortably hold your hand in the water for 30 seconds, it's too hot. Turn it down. And this next one, I honestly didn't take it seriously for years, sitting or standing, just staying in one position too long. When that movement disappears, the blood doesn't circulate the way it should. It slows, it settles, it pools, and over time, that heavy, pressured feeling in your legs starts creeping back in, no matter what else you're doing. Third, and this one surprises a lot of people, there's a common breakfast habit that can make varicose veins worse. High sodium. That morning toast with processed cheese, that breakfast sausage, even some cereals are loaded with hidden salt. Excess sodium causes your body to retain water, which increases the volume of fluid pressing against those already weakened vein walls. If you're serious about helping your veins, reducing sodium makes a measurable difference. Fourth, crossing your legs. It feels natural. Everyone does it. But when you cross your legs, especially for extended periods, you're compressing the veins behind your knee. That's exactly where a lot of the venous return happens. You're blocking the highway. And fifth, skipping the upward massage. When you soak, if you just sit there and let your feet marinate without moving, you're only getting part of the benefit. That gentle upward rubbing motion is critical because it physically assists the blood flow in the right direction. Don't skip it. If you ever notice a specific change in the skin near your veins, stop everything and pay attention. If the skin around a varicose vein becomes warm to the touch, turns red, and feels hard or tender, that could be a sign of superficial thrombophlebitis. That's a blood clot in a surface vein. It's usually not dangerous, but it needs medical evaluation because in rare cases, clots can travel to deeper veins. Also, if you develop a sore near a varicose vein that won't heal, especially around the ankle, that's a venous ulcer, and that requires a doctor's care. Don't try to treat it at home. And if one leg suddenly swells much more than the other, with pain and warmth, please get that checked immediately. That could indicate a deep vein thrombosis, which is a medical emergency. I mention these things not to scare you, but because caring for yourself means knowing the difference between what you can manage at home and what needs professional attention. A good foot soak is wonderful for daily comfort and symptom management. But if your body is sending you warning signals, listen to them. One more thing, and honestly, this is what surprised me the most. It wasn't even the veins that changed my mind about this soak. It was what happened to my sleep. You know that restless feeling in your legs at night? That heavy, tingling, almost crawling sensation that keeps you from settling down? I'd had that for years. I just assumed it was another part of getting older. But within the first week of doing these evening soaks, that sensation started fading. I'd get into bed and my legs would feel calm, genuinely calm. Turns out, when you reduce the inflammation, improve the circulation, and give your leg muscles a dose of magnesium right before bed, that restless feeling doesn't have the same fuel to run on. I've been doing this soak almost every night for about 12 weeks now. The veins are still there. The bigger ones probably always will be unless I choose a procedure. But the heaviness? Mostly gone. The swelling by evening? significantly better. The restless legs? Almost completely resolved. And my mornings feel different in a way I genuinely didn't think was possible at 65. If you've been dealing with the same kind of thing, that tired, heavy, achy feeling in your legs that nobody seems to have a simple answer for, you might want to give this a try tonight. You probably already have Epsom salt somewhere in your house. Black seed oil you can find at most health food stores or online. And 15 minutes in the evening is a small investment for what it could do. Speaking of things that help circulation in your legs, there's actually a specific vitamin that most seniors are low in that directly affects how well your veins function. And almost no one connects it to leg health. If you want to know which one, keep watching because I covered it recently. And what the research shows is something every person over 60 should hear.